The day Enola's body betrayed her was the same day the village turned its whispers into weapons. The sun cast long shadows across the dusty parts of the village as Enola balanced a clay pot on her head, her bare feet navigating the familiar route home. At 13, she walked with the awkward grace of someone discovering their changing body, her movements caught between childhood freedom and newfound self-consciousness. The village around her pulsed with ancient rhythms, women pounding yams in wooden mortars, children chasing chickens through narrow alleyways, and elders sitting beneath mango trees, their wisdom carried on whispered winds. But lately, these familiar scenes had taken on a different tone. Eyes followed Enola's every move, and whispers trailed behind her like persistent shadows. Enola, the sharp voice of MMA fun, cut through the evening air. The elderly woman sat outside her compound, fingers weaving palm fronds with practiced precision. Her eyes narrowed as they tracked Enola's approach. "What do you think you're doing, walking about like that?" Enola's heart skipped. She adjusted her wrapper self-consciously, though it was the same one she'd worn countless times before. "Good evening, ma," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Evening won't save you," MMA fun scoffed. "Look at you parading around like a grown woman. Do you think we don't see?" The words stung like bitter cola on Enola's tongue. She hadn't changed anything about herself. It was her body that was changing, transforming without her permission. Her dresses fit differently, her voice had softened, and suddenly the village saw threats where there had only been innocence before. At home, the walls seemed to close in around her. The compound that had once been her playground now felt like a prison, with her mother's watchful eyes tracking her every move. The village's judgment had seeped into their home like smoke, filling every corner with suspicion. In the privacy of her room, Enola traced the unfamiliar curves of her changing body, wondering how something so natural could cause such chaos. The same village that had raised her, that had celebrated her first steps and praised her helpful nature, now viewed her with suspicion. She was still the same Enola who helped her mother in the market, who excelled at her studies, who dreamed of becoming a teacher. But in the eyes of her community, she had committed the unforgivable crime of growing up. As night fell and crickets began their evening symphony, Enola lay on her mat, wrapping her arms around herself. She wasn't just navigating the physical changes of puberty, she was learning to carry the weight of her community's fears, prejudices, and expectations. In the darkness, she whispered a promise to herself she would find a way to be both the daughter her mother needed and the woman she was becoming. The whispers started like a gentle breeze before growing into a storm. Enola first noticed them at the marketplace, where women's eyes followed her movements with predatory intensity. Her body, changing without permission, had become the village's favorite topic of discussion. "Look at that one," they'd mutter, heads bent together like conspiring birds. "Growing too fast for her age, must be up to no good." Enola's mother heard these whispers too. Each rumor added another brick to the wall she was building around her daughter. "No more walking to school alone," she declared one evening, her voice hard as steel. "No more evening errands. No more playing with friends." "But Mama," Enola protested, "I haven't done anything wrong." "Silence," her mother's palm slammed against the wooden table. "You think I don't see how your body is changing? How men's eyes follow you? The village doesn't lie, Enola. Where there's smoke, there's fire." The restrictions came like chains, each one heavier than the last. Enola's world shrank to the size of their compound. Her friends' laughter echoed from the stream where they still played freely, while she sat in the kitchen, watching life through the window's narrow frame. At night, MMA Fun's voice would ring in her ears. "These girls nowadays, they develop fast because they're doing things. Secret things." The old woman's words carried weight in the village, turning innocent changes into signs of moral decay. Even her clothes betrayed her. The wrapper that had fit perfectly last month now curved differently around her hips. Her blouses strained slightly at the chest. Each new curve was evidence in a trial she never agreed to face. "Keep your eyes down," her mother would hiss at the market. "Don't draw attention." But how do you hide from your own body? How do you apologize for growing up? The worst part wasn't the restrictions or the whispers, it was watching her mother transform from protector to prison guard. Every morning, her mother's eyes would scan her body for new changes, each development treated like a personal betrayal. The woman who had once sung her to sleep now spoke in clipped commands and suspicious glances. Trapped between childhood and womanhood, Enola felt like a butterfly emerging too soon, with the whole village waiting to clip her wings before she could even test them. The confrontation that changed everything happened on a blazing afternoon. Funmi's voice cut through the heat like a machete. Enola, come here, girl. She sat on her veranda, her fingers working palm fronds into baskets, eyes sharp as thorns. Enola's feet moved before her mind could protest. The older woman's compound smelled of wood smoke and judgment. Look at how you're walking, Funmi spat. Swaying like a woman when you're barely more than a child. What shame are you bringing to your mother's house? The market incident followed like a cruel echo. Women clustered around their stalls, voices carrying across morning air that's heard the one growing too fast. Must be following boys, their words stuck to Enola like honey, drawing more whispers, more stares. Her mother's grip on her arm tightened with each murmur, each pointed finger. That evening, her mother's verdict fell like an axe. No more freedom. School, home, market, only with me. Nothing else. The walls of their compound became Enola's prison, her window the only glimpse of the world beyond. But fate had other plans. At the community well, where women gathered to draw water and trade stories, Enola met Auntie Fun, different from her namesake, carrying wisdom instead of judgment in her eyes. Child, Auntie Funmi said, watching Enola struggle with her water pot, what weighs on your heart more than this water? The kindness in her voice broke something in Enola. Words spilled like water from a cracked pot about the whispers, the restrictions, the shame of simply growing up. Auntie Fun listened, her face soft with understanding. The turning point came beneath the ancient oracle tree, where the village gathered for important matters. Auntie Fun stood, her voice carrying authority. We must speak about our daughters. Look at Enola, see how our whispers have dimmed her light. Are we not the same women who once faced these changes? Did judgment help us grow? The silence that followed felt heavy with realization. Other women began speaking, sharing stories of their own transitions from girl to woman. Even Enola's mother's face softened, years of her own struggles reflecting in her eyes. In that moment, under the oracle tree's spreading branches, something shifted in the village's heart. The whispers didn't stop immediately, but they began carrying different words: understanding, support, guidance. The prison walls around Enola began to crack, letting in light, letting her grow. Inside her small bedroom, Enola stood before the cracked mirror, studying her reflection. The girl staring back was a stranger caught between childhood and womanhood, between who she was and who everyone feared she'd become. Her fingers traced the unfamiliar curves that had sparked the village's judgment. I'm still me, she whispered to her reflection. Still the same Enola who loves books and dreams of teaching, but doubt crept in like evening shadows. Perhaps the whispers were right. Perhaps these changes meant she was becoming someone dangerous, someone worthy of suspicion. Her mother watched from doorways and windows, fear evident in every sharp command. Fix your wrapper, she'd snap. Don't stand like that. Behind her harsh words, Enola glimpsed something familiar, the same confusion she felt, mirrored in her mother's eyes. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, her mother's hands paused over the yams. I was 13 once too, she said softly, surprising them both. The women watched me then, just as they watch you now. I swore I'd protect my daughter differently. Her voice trailed off, heavy with realization. The community's transformation moved like a slow tide. It began with Auntie Funmi's words under the oracle tree, spreading through conversations at the well, in kitchens, at market stalls. Women started sharing their own stories of transition, of fear, of growth. Remember when we were her age, one woman would say to another. How scared we felt, how alone. Funmi, who had once led the chorus of criticism, fell silent, then slowly began nodding when others spoke of change. Even she couldn't deny the truth in their shared experiences. Enola felt the shift in her bones. Her steps grew surer, her voice stronger. She still caught whispers, but they carried different weight now. The village was learning, just as she was, that growth wasn't a sin to be punished but a journey to be guided. One morning, her mother handed her a new wrapper, adult-sized, beautifully patterned. For the young woman you're becoming, she said, eyes glistening. In that moment, Enola understood that they had all grown together, transforming not just bodies but hearts and minds too. The kitchen was thick with the aroma of palm oil and unspoken words. Enola's mother stirred the soup slowly, her shoulders tense with the weight of what she needed to say. Enola, she finally spoke, her voice softer than the evening breeze. I owe you an apology. The wooden spoon paused mid-stir. Outside, crickets filled the silence with their evening song. I've been harsh, too harsh. In trying to protect you, I became your jailer. Enola stood frozen, the pestle in her hand forgotten. Her mother continued, each word carefully chosen like ripe fruit from a tree. When I saw your body changing, I saw danger. I remembered my own struggles, the mistakes I made. But in protecting you from my past, I stole your present. His tears welled in both their eyes, glistening in the fading light. Slowly, hesitantly, they moved toward each other. The embrace felt new, like discovering a forgotten path home. The change rippled through the village like rain on still water. At the market, women who once whispered accusations now offered gentle guidance. Remember, they'd say to each other, we were all Enola once. Even MMA Fun, the stern voice of tradition, shifted her tune. These girls, she declared one day under the oracle tree, they need our wisdom, not our fear. Enola and her mother developed new rhythms. They talked during evening chores, sharing stories of their days. Her mother taught her the secrets of womanhood not as warnings, but as wisdom passed down like precious beads. Your body, her mother said one evening, plaiting Enola's hair, is not a shame to hide. It's a gift to nurture, to protect with pride, not fear. The village learned too. Young girls walked straighter, their laughter ringing freely again. The community discovered that supporting their daughters made them stronger than caging them ever could. Under the mango tree, where she once hid her tears, Enola now sat with other girls, sharing stories and dreams. Their mothers watched from nearby, smiling at the sound of unfettered joy. We almost lost something precious, Enola's mother confessed to the other women. In protecting our daughters from growing up, we nearly broke their spirits. The resolution wasn't perfect, change rarely is. But in acknowledging their fears, in choosing understanding over judgment, they built something beautiful, a community where growing up wasn't a crime, but a celebration. In the heart of the village, under a sky painted with sunset hues, Enola's story became a mirror reflecting deeper truths. Her changing body wasn't just about physical transformation, it was about a community wrestling with its own shadows. Every morning, as she helped her mother in the market, she felt the weight of tradition pressing against her shoulders. The whispers followed her like persistent spirits, too grown, too fast, too much. But within her chest bloomed something stronger than fear, a quiet defiance that refused to apologize for nature's course. Her mother's journey from jailer to ally revealed the delicate dance between protection and trust. I guard you because I love you, she'd say, but gradually learned that love could be a breach rather than a cage. Their relationship transformed from one of command to conversation, fear to understanding. The village's influence proved both poison and cure. The same tongues that once spread venom began sharing stories of healing. Remember when we were young, they'd say. Remember how we needed guidance, not judgment. These conversations, shared over market stalls and cooking fires, slowly unraveled generations of harmful beliefs. Under the ancient oracle tree, where village wisdom took root, women began questioning age-old traditions. Why did they fear their daughters' growth? Why did natural changes spark such unnatural panic? The answers came slowly, painfully, like dawn breaking through stubborn night. Female empowerment bloomed in unexpected places, in mothers defending their daughters' right to grow, in girls standing straighter despite whispers, in elders admitting that tradition sometimes needed gentle correction. Young girls watched Enola walk with growing confidence and found courage in her steps. Our daughters, Auntie Fun would say, her voice carrying the weight of new wisdom, are not problems to be solved, but gardens to be nurtured. The metaphor spread through the village, changing how they saw their girls not as dangers to be contained, but as flowers reaching for sun. In the end, Enola's story wasn't just about one girl's journey through puberty. It was about a community learning to trust instead of fear, to support instead of suppress, to understand instead of judge. Her transformation became their transformation, proving that sometimes the greatest changes happen not in our bodies but in our hearts.